So, good afternoon. It's Sunday and it's August the 1st. And I'm living in Henderson, Nevada. And I've been living here for more than 3 years, let's put it like that. But understanding who I am as an individual and my concerns as an individual who's had the ability to participate in policy governance, let's put it like that. I understood what I saw when I moved to Nevada, as I could not understand how they were measuring the access and the services that were being offered by the local school system, because everybody was just simply doing something different. And I do mean something different. But when you understand, even if they're claiming to have 34 early Head Start centers, what's the number of African American children who are enrolled in these programs? What does 6% represent? How are they turning in alternative, data sets to the federal government to demonstrate they're providing same level access to all children, and they're not? So, when I started to do my research, I saw a lot of things that were just concerning. Mostly the lobbyist influence in the writing of public policies that would create access for all children. There are so many lobbyists that are involved in supporting the state of Nevada. That's what they do. They lobby and they build consensus around what they would like to do with the federal money. And I just want you to understand this as an American citizen. It is your personal responsibility to think about the outcomes from, just push yourself out the box and think about the outcomes that are supposed to happen from the local investment of public services. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, then I can't give you a lot of help as to, it took me a long time to truly understand my obligation to myself and to life, and to understand what I had the ability to do and help to provide support in creating services for children who look like me and perhaps were not, who were underrepresented in the public school system, as they were deemed to have disabilities and learn differently from other children. And that's kind of difficult when you understand that special education is more than a label. It's much more than a label. So in America, here we are. It's 2021. And what we have witnessed in America is criminal behavior, as I just don't see how they have the ability to move so many students without having manifestation hearings, but to understand the judicial influence and the processes of deeming a child incompetent and the families incompetent to raise their children, and then putting them into the service sector, and then having people work in that community over children with disabilities and then have no data. I mean, absolutely no data. Concerning in 2021, when I looked at the plan that they submitted for the CONAP, it was not in any fashionable form that would be easily read or understood. It was convoluted, and it looked like an F paper from a high school perspective. And I've read F papers, and I used to write and not check my work. Now I try to check my work, because when I would make mistakes, silly mistakes, then people would come and correct me and then talk about me as I made mistakes, as if I cared. Because that didn't make my day, and it just doesn't make my day. But in a nation where so many people would stand up for the rights of children and then let their personal pettiness get in the way of the advocacy for the children, is where we're stuck, as these groups and organizations that have been deemed to be support tools for the African American community, and perhaps would coordinate, the conversation around what's happening for the least of us. And we can't even coordinate that conversation because people are all off doing their own thing, and it's just real. It's unfortunate in 2021, where Nevada this Department of Education would contend to itself that it had done enough outreach and would submit the American Rescue Plan with the majority of black people continuing to meet and talk about their limited access. But they're not looking at the limited outcomes and the inability of their children to engage in the citizenry. I'll say citizenry, whatever, becoming local citizens as they are not educated and do not come out of high school voting. So of course, you don't want nobody managing you when you're freely and have always freely spent the money in any kind of manner that you so chose. Well, guess what? In 2021, in the era of technology, that all of the requirements for the American Rescue Plan have been posted at the Department of Education. Now, I noticed that California was doing the work, but for the life of me, I can't see the work happening in Nevada. And I know far too many people get paid out of the federal coffers here. And then they're talking about an entitlement. If they can't get some kind of benefit from the American Rescue Plan, like a benefit. I mean, extra benefits just for working. Well, of course, some of those extra benefits should be available. But I'm going to tell you, not for the minimal sustained outcomes that you're supposed to be doing already. So for a superintendent of a local school district to say and ask the black people who are trying to have a conversation about public education, although they're not focused on the data, and they're not focused on the outcomes, but they really don't need to be, as the responsibility to ensure access comes from the state, and it should be the State Department of Education holding CCSD accountable, which that just doesn't happen. And as we are all living on a different planet in Nevada, and yes we are, it's a different planet, it's a new day, but it's a new dawn, and it's a new century. So failure has never been an option in public education. So the word is e pluribus unum, out of many there's one, but out of one there'll be none. Who will you be in 2021? Please like, subscribe, and share.